Hey guys, it's Emma here. Welcome to my channel. If we've never met before, my name is Emma. I'm a cruise blogger and I'm a founder of a Facebook community for cruisers. I've just booked a cruise for £42.70 per night. It's a real cruise, it's around the Mediterranean on one of the big cruise lines, and if you'd like to find out how you can do the same, keep watching this video. The cruise that I've booked is a cruise around the Mediterranean. It's on board the MSC Meraviglia, which is a ship I already know that I love. I've been on her before. I implemented a lot of these tips into the buying process of this cruise, so if you pay attention, you should be able to book your own cruises for under £50 per night. So there are two main ways you can get deals like this. You can either sit back and wait for the deals to come to you, or you can go and you can hunt for these deals. I'm going to go through both ways in this video so that you can find your perfect cruise, and it can be as easy and simple as possible. Just follow these tips and you'll be completely fine. The first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get on a mailing list for every travel agent that you can find. I'm in the UK, so I mainly use Cruise Nation, Cruise First, cruise.co.uk, a couple of others. I'll put them in the description, the travel agents that I use. If you're in the UK, sign up for those. If you're in the US, you'll probably have slightly different ones, but the idea is the same. Head over to all of the ones that you might ever want to use and put in your email address. When they have a deal, they will send it out by email, and you want to be the first person to get those. The second point is when you get those emails, you're going to have to act ridiculously fast. There is no time to wait for your husband to come home from work to check with him. There's no time to check if you can get the time off work. You're just going to have to book it and deal with it later. You're not going to be able to book these cruises a few hours later. When those emails come around, they'll sell out within an hour, 2 hours, maybe even faster. You've got to be on it and ready to pounce whenever you get these emails into your inbox. So now you can just sit back and you can wait for those deals to roll in. But if you do want to hunt for a cruise, maybe you know you've got November off, or you know you want to try a certain cruise line, I'm going to teach you how to hunt for those deals. If you can, book as far in advance as possible, maybe when they launch the itineraries. Sometimes I've seen the inaugural cruises for under £50 a night, which is just incredible. I'm not a person who likes to book that far in advance, but I do know friends who've booked some even 2.5 years in advance, which is incredible. If you do book a cruise really far in advance, don't worry that you're going to have to pay it off, because you're not. Well, I mean, you are at some point, but you will just pay a deposit, and then 60 or 90 days before, maybe a few months before, you'll have to pay the full balance. So you've got a year and a half, a year, 2 years, whatever you want. That brings me nicely onto my next point. At around 60 or 90 days before a cruise, the price will usually drop, because at this point, cruise lines know how many people they've got going on the cruises. They know how many cabins they've already sold, how many have been paid for, and they can just try and fill those last minute deals. Usually the later you leave it, if you can get on a cruise tomorrow, you're going to get the best deal. I know it is kind of hard to get time off work and things, but if you don't have to worry about that, honestly, maybe book out a week of work and then leave it to the last minute and go somewhere. I like to be a bit too organised to do that, but it is a good way to do it. Often the cheapest cruises of all are transatlantic or trans-Pacific cruises. They're not really ones that interest me, just because it would require quite a lot of time off work, and I feel like I want to be out there seeing different ports and doing different things. But there are so many people who love transatlantic cruises, and if I had more time off work, I would definitely be cruising over the Atlantic, cruising around, cruising back, doing things a very relaxed way. It will be fantastic to have no jet lag when you get back home. Transatlantic and trans-Pacific cruises can be amazing, and they're often so cheap. Following on with the itinerary theme, if you do a cruise that starts and ends in different ports, these can be really cheap. They are a bit more difficult logistically if you've got to fly out somewhere and cruise back, or maybe you don't know where to park the car. They can be a bit more difficult, but that is why they are cheap. I see so many cheap cruises. I live in the UK and I see so many cheap cruises that fly to Hamburg and cruise back to Southampton, which I really want to do, and you only need a few days off work because they're really usually short cruises. You don't necessarily get the same experience as you would on a 7 or 14 night cruise. It's not always the best one to try a new cruise line, because the impression you get from 3 days might not be the same as a longer cruise, but nevertheless they are still really cheap and really fun. As far as cabins go, I would always say try and get an inside cabin, because of course they are the cheapest, and try and go for a guaranteed inside cabin. Guaranteed just means that you're guaranteed to have a cabin in that category. You can get upgraded, which is of course always a bonus. It's quite a good chance of being upgraded actually sometimes, but it just means that your room location isn't assigned until last minute. You don't get to pick, oh, I want this particular cabin on this side in the middle or whatever. You get the leftover cabins, but I don't really think there are any bad cabins on most cruise ships. I know some people really like to be in the middle because they get seasick, or they really like to be near the buffet or near the atrium. For me, I don't really care. I did this on board the Independence of the Seas last year, and we had a cabin right at the end of the ship, which honestly was probably good that we did some more steps before we got to the buffet, because we ate a lot of food on that cruise. To make it cheap per person, you're going to want to cram as many people as you can into a cabin, maybe 3 or 4. Some cruise lines even do 5. So I've cruised with my parents and my brother where we've done 4 adults in an inside cabin or an ocean view, and it's completely fine. For a few days, I don't really think that you need to go all out on balconies and things like that. It depends very much where you're going, but inside cabins are usually fine for me. I wouldn't want to share with that many people for a week. I think that would be about my limit. 3 or 4 days is completely fine. It can make the cruise a lot cheaper because the 3rd and 4th passengers will often cost a lot less than passengers 1 and 2. It depends on the cruise lines, but if you split the cost per person, you can save a lot of money by getting all your friends in one cabin. It can just be like a fun little sleepover. I know a lot of people enjoy it. The last thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to cruise off season when nobody else wants to cruise. You'll get the worst weather but the cheapest prices. So for me, it's always cheapest to go in November. There's some really cheap deals in November, or January and February. The cruise I was talking about earlier I booked is for January. It is a week on board the MSC Meraviglia out of Barcelona, and it was so cheap I could not resist it. I've already done this cruise. I will link in the description to all of my things that I made last time. I cruised on her last time over Christmas, and it is less than half the price this time from what it was over Christmas, just by moving maybe 2 or 3 weeks into January. It doesn't matter to me if I cruise out of season. I don't have any children. I don't have to stick with those summer holidays, which can be really expensive. The cheapest cruises that I've found are usually with Costa Cruises or MSC. I've got loads of MSC content on our website, and I have just taken my first ever Costa cruise. I've always seen these bargain Costa cruises come into my inbox, but I've never taken one. So I booked a week cruise on board the Costa Luminosa. It cost me £400 and I had the best time. If you are considering a Costa cruise, I definitely recommend you check out the Costa videos that I've made. I'll put the link to them in the description. It was an amazing cruise, but it was unlike any cruise I've ever been on before. I often look at these cruises and I think these are genuinely cheaper than me staying at home and paying my mortgage, and I'm sure I can eat the amount that this cruise costs per day. So yeah, I hope you do find some amazing cruises. Thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing. I do loads of tours of ships, of cabins, I do daily vlogs, and I'm going to be doing a lot more first time cruiser tips just like this. So please subscribe and leave me a comment letting me know the best cruise deal you've ever found. You really impressed me with your cruise deals. I think I'm quite good at a bargain, but some of you guys are just amazing. So yeah, I think that is it from me this time. Until next time, goodbye.